built a massive parlay at 10 odds. Let's break it down. First match, Fiorentina versus Atalanta, and honestly I completely disagree with people who still automatically treat Atalanta as clear favorite just because of their status and squad quality. Right now the situation feels very different. If you focus specifically on the end of the season, Fiorentina honestly look much more alive and motivated, and it's especially noticeable at home. Artemio Franca under Paolo Vanoli has generally become a very uncomfortable place for top clubs. Not a single home defeat against teams from the top 10. That's already a serious state. But the biggest thing is that the Viola are currently playing without fear. The 2-0 win over Juventus last round was not some random smash and grab with 2 shots all game. Fiorentina actually looked really good going forward, controlled the ball confidently, and once again showed that they have real attacking ideas. If you look at their spring form overall, Fiorentina lost only 1 match in 10 Serie A rounds, and that defeats came away from home. So at home this is currently a very stubborn and difficult team to play against. Plus the atmosphere around the club became much calmer after the news that Vanoli will most likely stay. That matters a lot psychologically for the players too, because when a squad understands who the long-term coach will be, nervousness usually disappears. And against the backdrop of Atalanta, this contrast is even more noticeable, because the Bergamo side right now feel like a team full of uncertainty. There are already rumors about replacing Palladino, the results dropped off badly, and their away form raises huge questions. Only 1 victory in their last 7 official away matches is a very poor number for a club supposedly fighting for European spots. And the problem isn't even all the results. It's the football itself. They stopped dominating consistently. One very telling stat is that since March Atalanta only once won the XG battle away from home, and even that came against a struggling lesser side. That already screams systematic decline. But at the same time I still don't think that visitors live without scoring. Atalanta still have a very serious attacking group, and they've now scored away from home in 8 straight matches. Even when the performances are poor, they still create chances, especially against teams that actually want to play football themselves. And Fiorentina are exactly that type of side. Guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post match analysis daily and always try to keep my subscribers in profit. I also genuinely appreciate reasonable criticism and well-argued picks in the comments. I always read them. Guys, here's my Telegram and my stats. I work as transparently and honestly as possible. I even pay taxes as an individual entrepreneur. I am one of the few in this space who actually works openly and fairly. The link is in the description below. Fiorentina are definitely not parking the bus here. At home the Tuscans usually play brave, proactive football with lots of combinations in the final third. There is a reason they rank among the best lower half teams in the league for forward passing numbers. And honestly, I think the style fits my pick perfectly, because I'm not expecting a closed or cautious match at all. For Fiorentina this is the final home game of the season against a big-name opponent, and obviously they will want to finish beautifully in front of their fans. Meanwhile, Atalanta in their current state do not look like a team capable of simply showing the game down and comfortably stealing a win, especially considering how many goals they started conceding late. Nearly 1.7 goals conceded per game across their last 15 official matches is already a serious warning sign. That's why I'm really like Fiorentina's chances to play actively and at minimum find their own goal. Especially because at home the Viola are consistently creating opportunities almost every game now. So for the parlay I am taking Fiorentina over 1 team goal. And for the crazy parlay I am going with 1x plus both teams to score at 2.25 odds. Second match, Djurgarden versus Brommapojkarna, and honestly I think the bookmakers are absolutely right to make the host favorites here. But at the same time I wouldn't expect some insane demolition like 4-0 or 5-1. This game is actually really interesting specifically because of the combination of trends involved. On one side, Djurgarden historically are an incredibly uncomfortable opponent for Brommapojkarna. 9 official meetings in a row since 2022 were won by Djurgarden. That's already way beyond coincidence. At this point, it's almost mental. One team simply feels comfortable against the other. And it matters even more now because Djurgarden themselves haven't exactly been stable this season. Performance-wise, they can fluctuate badly. One week they destroy someone, The next week they randomly drop points where nobody expects it. But despite those ups and downs, they remain one of the highest scoring teams in the league. 18 goals in 8 rounds is a very serious number. You can clearly see this team is built around aggressive football. They play with almost no midfield control, take risks constantly, transition quickly and create huge amounts of chances. The issue though is that they also regularly allow opportunities the other way. 11 goals conceded in 8 rounds tells you the balance is far from perfect. And that's where I get the feeling this game could once again become a slightly nervous one for the hosts. But not necessarily ultra high scoring, because the Brommapojkarna are currently a much more cautious side. Their attack isn't really as dangerous, only 11 goals in 8 matches, and they look especially weak away from home. 9 of their 13 conceded goals came in away matches, so at home they can survive somewhat, but away from their stadium problems begin immediately. Still, there is one important detail. They don't get destroyed too often. This season they only lost heavily twice. And if you look at the recent head-to-head meetings, even when Djurgarden completely dominated, most games still stayed fairly controlled on the scoreboard. In the last 5 meetings, there were never more than 3 goals. That's a really important trend. Because right now many people automatically see Djurgarden's attacking style and instantly expect a wild shootout. But the actual history of this matchup suggests the opposite. Brommapojkarna usually try to slow game down as much as possible against this opponent and avoid opening up unnecessarily. And honestly, I think the same thing happens again here, especially because the visitors understand the class difference perfectly and probably will not try to play first number football. More likely, they sit deep and try to survive through moments. Meanwhile, Djurgarden in these types of matches don't always turn dominance into huge blowouts. Yeah, they often control the game and create chances, but that doesn't automatically become 4 or 5 goals. That's exactly why I really love the angle of controlled home result without a crazy total. Everything points towards score like 1-0, 2-0 or maybe 2-1 at most. Djurgarden still clearly looks stronger, plus the home crowd and the perfect head-to-head history and massive factors here. But Brommapojkarna don't currently look hopeless enough to get smashed 0-4 again. So for the parlay, I am taking 1x plus under 4.5 goals. Honestly, this feels like one of the safest options on the entire card. And for the crazy parlay, I am going with Djurgarden to win plus under 3.5 goals at 2.4 odds. I also broke down one more match as a single, but honestly, it can easily be added into the parlay too. Maxline versus Gomel, and here I think a lot of people are underestimating just how attacking this game could become. On paper, the matchup suggests a caution game between two organized sides. But if you dig deeper, the picture becomes very different. Maxline right now genuinely looks like a machine at the start of the season. 19 goals in 8 rounds is an absolutely insane number for the Belarusian league, especially considering how pragmatic that league usually is. And the biggest thing is that the team hasn't choked down at all after a GFRF. Actually, the football became even more vertical and aggressive. The 3-0 demolition of Arsenal and the 5-1 win over Dnipro perfectly showed that Maxline have zero interest in slowing games down. They press hard, transition quickly, and constantly create chances. Yeah, their XG sits at 1.47, but the finishing right now is absolutely ridiculous. And at home they definitely will not play cautiously because the mission is simple. Maintain the gap over the chasing pack. And drop points immediately reopen the title race. But at the same time, I really don't think Gomel are arriving here just to defend. And that's a huge detail. Because the Linsics themselves are actually in very good form. 4th place isn't accidental. This team generally became much more stable, especially away from home. 7 points from 4 away matches is among the best away records in the league. Most importantly, Gomel know how to exploit space. And Maxline with their aggressive style definitely leaves space behind that, especially now that Noska is up. Losing the main holding midfielder could become absolutely crucial here, because Maxline usually suffocated opponents central and protected against counters through him. Now that balance might weaken, and Gomel absolutely have players capable of bringing forward quickly. Laptev is currently in strong form, and the team itself scores it almost every match. That's exactly why I don't really want to touch outright sides here. Because Maxline do look stronger overall, but Gomel are simply too good to completely collapse without resistance, especially considering the different absences for both sides. Gomel themselves are missing Kukushkin and Troyakov, which automatically made their backline much weaker against the highest scoring team in the league. So the setup here is very interesting. The host will naturally attack aggressively and create chances in bunches, while the visitors will get space for quick counterattacks. That's exactly why I don't expect some boring low-scoring game. So for me, the most logical angle here is purely through the total goals market. For the parlay, I'm taking over 2 goals total, and for the risky single, I'm personally go with over 2 goals in Vitebsk at 1.95 odds.